What would you do if your husband, brother, uncle or father disappeared without a trace? That's the situation for Sara Norton, the sister of one of the Kiwi passengers on board MH370, which disappeared nearly 5 years ago now. It's one of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time, and the families of those lost are still desperately seeking answers. Our South Island reporter Logan Church and camera operator Simon Rogers filed this report.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines plane is missing.
The Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans.
MH370 disappeared en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing on the 8th of March 2014. It was carrying 239 people, including Paul Weeks, one of 2 New Zealanders on board. His sister, Sara, remembers the brother she's lost.
Cheeky, funny. Kind of very much a leader, just a very nice person. So he went to uni, he got a mechanical engineering degree, they moved to Perth, he was doing some work over there, and then he was employed by a mine in Mongolia. They wanted him to go and basically reorganise the whole place and restructure it and get it running efficiently. So that's where he was headed to the day he disappeared.
Paul Weeks is survived by his wife Danica and his 2 boys Lincoln and Jack. He was born in Christchurch but moved with his family to Perth after the Canterbury earthquakes. Sara recalls the nights they learnt he was missing.
Well, I guess we presumed initially that it had crashed, that something had gone wrong. I mean, we weren't notified by anyone else. It was a person from the media that rang my grandfather. And that's how we found out. So we just presumed that obviously it had crashed or something, like that, and that over the following few days we would find out what had happened.
Where is your grandfather?
So my grandfather lives in Christchurch and with my grandmother. And
so he got a call from a journalist with the news?
He got a call from a reporter, yeah. So I don't know how the reporter tracked him down. He has a different surname. But that's how we found out.
Those first few months after the crash, did you hold hope that something would be found?
Absolutely. Initially, when the information was so conflicting and there was nothing that, was firm, we thought perhaps maybe it had landed, or perhaps it had been hijacked, or maybe it had crashed somewhere else. So many things go through your mind because you haven't got any firm information, and then it's just kept going. It's nearly 5 years of did it crash, did it land, was it hijacked, was it the pilot? Is everyone somewhere else? Did they land and get kept somewhere? Did they crash? Are they in the southern Indian Ocean? Are they in another ocean? Is it, question. We don't know.
MH370 had 227 passengers on board, including 2 children and 12 crew members. Its disappearance has become the biggest mystery in aviation history. Unanswered questions have given rise to multiple theories. But for the families, they need facts. And Sara says communication from the Malaysian government has been far from ideal.
So initially, the families were allocated a person from in Malaysia somewhere who would ring or email. And that lasted for a few weeks, and then it got very, very sporadic, and then we received a text message from someone in Malaysia saying that everyone was dead.
So you got a text message saying...
A text message, yes. That was everyone. That was Danica. So Danica and myself were contacts for Paul because I was in New Zealand and she was the Australian contact, and that's how we received that information. No, they're very difficult to deal with and have been the whole way through, and I'm not sure whether that's a culture issue, whether it's just their manner, but you would imagine, given what had happened, that they would want to be friendly and polite to people who are grieving, and they certainly weren't.
A search costing up to $200 million has failed to find the plane, and most crucially, its flight recorder. Only that will confirm what actually happens to the doomed flight. Sara says she's very surprised they haven't had any word from the New Zealand government or the Defence Force.
I did find that a little bit disappointing, given that I am in New Zealand and my brother is a New Zealander. But no one's ever contacted me, and he represented our country in the army also at a point during his life. So you would think someone would want to have said something, perhaps at the time, but no.
How long did he serve in the army?
I believe he was in the army for about 7 years.
And what did he do?
He was a mechanic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
He loved tinkering away on vehicles.
So he served for 7 years, and nothing from the New Zealand government in terms of help for you or your family?
No, we've never heard from them.
We contacted the Ministry of Foreign Affairs about this. In a statement, it said,
"The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade provided consular assistance to the family of Mr Weeks following the disappearance of MH370. It is not our policy to provide details of individual cases."
And the Defence Force.
The New Zealand Defence Force has great sympathy for the family of Paul Weeks and for the families of all those lost on MH370. A P-3 Orion aircraft and around 40 personnel were involved in the search for MH370 for around 50 days, spending 284 hours in the air. It became a deeply personal mission for the crews involved. Mr Weeks served in the New Zealand Army from October 1993 and left in January 1999. Our thoughts and condolences are with his family.
As the 5th anniversary of the plane's disappearance nears, the victims' families are still no closer to finding any answers. Danica, Paul's wife, managed to get life insurance paid out, but Sara says what the families really want is closure and assurances that a similar disaster can never happen again.
If it can happen to that plane, and that plane can suddenly go missing and no one knows where it is, and that's it, end of plane, end of 230 odd people, then what's to stop it happening to another plane? One that I might be on, or one that you might be on, one that my children could be on, someone else's children. And I find that really interesting that no one seems to be concerned about that. People need to remember that there are no definitive answers with regard to this plane. We get a lot of, what's the word I'm going to use, a lot of stick from people.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
We should be over it. Over it. They found some parts, the plane crashed, so we know what happened. I'm not entirely convinced that if that was their loved one on the plane that they'd be over it. But that's a lot of the feedback that has come from some people. And on the flip side, there are a lot of people who are very, very lovely. But just that, 5 years down the track, why aren't we over it? We know it crashed, end of story. We don't know it crashed.
But closure of any kind is a long way away. Sara says Danica and some of the other families are travelling to Kuala Lumpur ahead of the 5-year anniversary, in the hope of getting some answers and to get another search going. For them, the fight is not over.
It's a very hard battle to fight, and yeah, it's just, like you said, it's just endless. Year in, year out, no more information, no nothing, no Paul.
And that's Sara Norton ending that report from Logan Church and Simon Rogers.